Hi Viveka, welcome to Masterclass
Hi.
Space interview session. Many congratulations on getting admit from Duke.
Thank you. Hi everybody. My name is Viveka and I'm an incoming freshman at Duke University. I'm from Georgia, the state of Georgia here in the United States. And I plan to major in computer science and public policy, hopefully getting into technology policy or something within the CS and data science realm. So
Good. So why don't you show your Duke T-shirt to our students and audience? So she has got Duke T-shirt even before entering university. That's called passion.
yeah.
Good, good.
Go Blue Devils. So
Very good, very good. So Viveka, the last 2 years of school, especially plus one and plus two, they are generally quite stressful because everyone is running behind college preparation here and there, and things are quite messed up. How was
Mhm.
your journey?
It was very challenging in terms of because up until this point you've just been doing school full time, making sure that your grades are good and whatever you do outside of school, but then you almost have this whole other thing that you have to worry about. So I applied to almost 20 colleges and that took up a lot of my time. It was like a full-time job.
Mhm.
Um and it was difficult making sure that I was keeping up my same academic standing while also making sure I submitted stellar applications to these colleges because many of them require something unique. You can't always recycle an essay, and you obviously want to put your best foot forward.
Mhm.
So that was really challenging to sort of balance that. Like all of my vacations were spent just writing essays. It was not spent being on vacation, which was not, it wasn't fun, but it ends up being worth it in the end when your acceptances start rolling in March. But yeah, so
Good. So it was more like a roller coaster ride.
it has its ups and downs. It's you really don't know what's gonna happen, and a lot of the times I'll write an essay and I think it's fine, and then an hour before I submit it I realize I don't like something about it, and then I want to change it, and then it's just
I
there's so many
understand.
moving parts and you tend to overthink things. But I'd say my biggest piece of advice, as it's probably not the advice that most people want to hear, but it's to just be authentic. And I think schools can really, really tell that from your essays. It comes through very obviously. So,
I see. So,
um,
Viveka, you've been part of Masterclass Space. I wanted to know how helpful the faculty members at Masterclass Space were for you.
they were pretty helpful. I mean, in terms of I feel like I mainly use Masterclass as a tool to make sure I understood the material for the SAT, specifically the reading and math sections. I think it was helpful and for me to getting to the stage where I could take a bunch of practice tests maybe on my own time also, so then I feel prepared with the necessary test taking strategies and knowledge to be able to do that and make sure I'm on the right track with SAT practice. So that's kind of where Masterclass really helped me out in that
Cool.
sense. So
What I have heard, Duke is quite expensive. It's
it is pretty
it's pretty
expensive.
expensive university. So, just wanted to know, are you getting some kind of financial aid or scholarship?
I'm getting pretty generous financially to be attending Duke, but I've also been lucky enough to receive a lot of outside scholarships.
Hmm.
I won this thing for my state call where I basically got to go to DC as a delegate to the United States Senate Youth Program. And I got $10,000 for that. They picked two students from each state in the United States to go visit Washington DC and some of the most incredible members of our government. Like just this past March, I actually met President Biden
Oh,
through
really?
that program, so that
You
was
met
very
President of
cool.
US?
Yes, I did.
And what did you do when
Um,
you met?
so it was actually after he gave the State of the Union
Hmm?
address, and it was around midnight, and we met him in the White House. It was very cool. He was a very sweet guy.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah.
Good.
Hmm.
That's quite interesting. And
Yeah.
you are
And
one of
then
the
I've also
one of the lucky students to get the chance.
So, I mean, if anybody, I would, if you live in the US, I would really recommend applying. It was a really rigorous application process. That was another application process I was going through on top of college, and school and things like that. But it's probably one of the best experiences of my life. Like, I never thought I would be one of those people who would be like, I peaked in high school, but I think after going to that program, I might have peaked in high school. It was really amazing. But yeah, so I feel like outside scholarships really help as well. Like I've been lucky enough to win a bunch of like local scholarships here in my area. And those like really add up and really help towards your college fees. And also Duke is pretty generous as well. Especially for people living like outside of the US. I think applying to private schools in the US is probably the best way to go about things because they tend to be very generous with their packages compared to public schools. But yeah, they were very nice with that.
So just tell me, can you please tell me which is that university that opened door to meet Mr. Biden?
Oh, it was not through a university. It was through a program sponsored by the Department of Education and the Hearst Foundations. So this was like run separately. It was a scholarship program. So it didn't really have anything to do with my college applications.
Oh, what is the name of the scholarship program?
The United States Senate Youth Program.
I see.
USSYP is what it's known as.
And only two students get chance to get through.
So there are 50 states, and they pick 2 students from each state. So I had to go through a competitive It's basically almost like how there are like 2 senators in each state in the United States. So it's sort of the same way with students. So I had to go through a process and basically compete against like all the students in Georgia, and then they pick 2 students from there to go. So
congratulations. Did you take some picture?
I do have pictures. We had pictures with him in the White House, and I got to meet my senators as well. I also got to meet a Supreme Court justice, which was a lot of fun. I'm someone who, even though I'm a computer science major, one of the reasons why I chose Duke was because I feel like it offered me the path to be able to do both and study public policy along with computer science. Georgia Tech, while it is extremely good for computer science, which is what made my decision super difficult, they like didn't give me as much freedom to take the courses that I wanted to. Like I would purely be doing computer science, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. But I wanted both, so that was a huge reason why I picked Duke as well. So
good. I would be happy to see your picture with Mr. President.
Yes, well, I can send it over.
Send it to me. I'll be very happy and keep it. Very good. So, I want to know a bit. Since last 2-3 years, because of COVID, the SAT was not mandatory for many universities. Now again, the trend is changing. Many university, especially the top Ivy Leagues, they are making SAT mandatory. So now, how useful SAT or ACT score is when it comes to university admission?
I think it can be very important in terms of like, but it's also important to keep in mind that SAT is not everything, especially for those like top 10 schools.
Correct.
It is very important in getting your foot in the door. And for you to be considered. But then also a lot of other things go into that. But it's also, I think, important to keep in mind, while it's great to get a good SAT score, it's nothing to, I would say, get incredibly stressed about. Like, there's not that much difference between a 1590 and 1570. There's no need to retake the SAT at that point, because you're there. You're in that top 1%. And that's really important. And I feel like a lot of schools are starting to take that into consideration. I think it's always good to submit if you're within that middle 50% range for colleges. Because it just shows, because while they can't assume that you got a bad SAT score, if you don't give them one, that raises some questions, right? And you obviously want to do well and have a good score to submit. But also, like, it really depends on your context as well. Like, I've seen kids get into all the Ivy Leagues test optional. Granted that that's not being offered as widely anymore. But it also really depends on your context and the resources that you have. Like, Masterclass is an excellent resource. Many of us who are part of this program are privileged enough to be able to use it and, do well on the SAT. But if that's even not your case, I think there's many outlets to getting to those colleges that you want to.
Correct.
All in all, I would say it's pretty important. The SAT, very important.
I get it. So, Viveka, now I wish to know a bit about your profile because I believe it's quite competitive to get into Duke. So, what was there? What you think? What was there on your profile that made you to be considered for Duke?
So one of the things that I mentioned was the United States Senate Youth Program. That was a huge part of my application. It was probably one of my highest honors in high school. It's about really so I think a term that I've heard a lot is that colleges aren't really trying to create or find diverse students. They're trying to find a diverse class, which is really important. So I think especially when you're applying to college, it's very important to construct a brand for yourself, which I think is what really helped me get into Duke. Because I think a lot of students have the resumes, they have the resources to get in. They just don't know how to craft an application that really speaks to their strengths. So I essentially narrowed down my application to one sentence, which was, I am someone who is passionate about computing and to drive social change. That was so whenever Duke read my application, they were like, this is Viveka. And that made me really stand out than as someone who just, wants to do CS. There's hundreds of those kids. So you really have to construct a brand for yourself in that sense. And I think some of the other things on my resume that I had was that I ran a lot of these girls' computer science workshops. So I helped local girls in my community, specifically elementary schoolers and middle schoolers, become more familiar with computer science, learned some basic languages, did some community service in that realm. I helped create apps for Congress through the Congressional App Challenge. I got to go present those in DC, which was a lot of fun. I think it's really about picking extracurriculars that really align with your passions. Like all of my extracurriculars had to do with civics and computer science and that intersection. So just kind of knowing what you like and trying to be the best in that field, I think helps you stand out at a school like Duke. And those notabilities. Like I also worked on political campaigns. There's many things you can do. And I think Duke really cares about community involvement in whatever sense that may be. So yeah.
Talking about essays, I just want to know, like, everyone has to write. On what basis they decide the authenticity of the content of the essay?
But I feel like for the content of the essays, I actually already had a previous connection to Duke through the Duke Tip program, which does not. I don't think it's being currently run anymore, but it was a gifted talent search run by Duke. So I actually talked about that experience in my essays, but it's really about finding a concrete reason for why Duke. They want to see that you've done your research, that you're passionate about Duke. Maybe not in just buying a t-shirt, but also in what you want to do, like research wise, clubs wise. Basically, they want to get a picture of who you would be like on their campus, right? And if you don't give them those details, then how are they supposed to imagine that, right? The kind of student you would be. So that's very important. I think that's important for any school. Pretty much every school that I know has their why college essay in some form, right? They want to make sure that you will be proud to be from that school and that you will, represent them well. So that's a very important factor. But then also a thing that I've noticed for a lot of top 10 schools, there's not really a formula, but at the same time, I think they really like to hear, authentic stories and you being able to tie that to, revealing some character trait about yourself. Yes, I could have, gone and written something about my resume and just talked about that experience, which for some essays I did because that's what they asked for. But a lot of your activity section takes care of that. And I think you want to be able to, talk about, a specific moment in your life that led to this to happen, or led to this inspiration or this passion. And I think that's what they really want to hear. Not that, hey, I won 6 medals at this competition and that's why I want to do this major. They don't want to write. They don't want to hear an essay about that. They want to hear an essay about what drives your passions, what events in your life that have happened that have brought you to this stage in your life. And that's how they best know who you are. And it doesn't even have to be academic. It could be something is like, I've seen people write essays about, them like, taking care of their like siblings after school and how that's changed them to be a hard worker. All of these, like, it can be something as simple as that. It should really just show good character. And if you were to, take your essay and white out your name, if you can fill somebody else's name in there and for it to apply to the other person, that essay is not unique enough to you. So that's just one thing to think about.
So basically, they see what impactful you are doing apart from like academics, or that is very important.
Very community driven, and I wouldn't say that's true for all schools. I feel like it's true for like if you're trying to get into maybe the top 30. That is very important. They want to see people who are involved in their community, whether that just be at the local level, state, national. They want, they want movers. So yeah.
So Viveka, I just want to know, what are your long-term plans now?
Obviously, I want to hopefully I'll get my degree in 4 years, computer science.
Be assured about it.
Yeah, so I'll be getting that degree. Hopefully, what I do really like about the flexibility of computer science and also applying public policy is that I don't necessarily have to go into pure tech, like working for Google. That option always exists, which is great. But I also really like, the sort of intersection of applying these soft skills to be working on more policy management oriented things. So that could either be maybe working in DC in a sort of technological role, or possibly working in consulting, or even maybe going on to law school and going into like IP or tech law or things that I've thought about. But I really want to use my computer science background in a more management or socially policy oriented role rather than just studying all day, which is fine. That depends, but that's just, I guess it's not for me. So
So we have talked a lot about academics. I want to know a bit fun side about you apart from academics and all these things which you are doing, computer science and community service. What drives you crazy?
I'm a huge music and movie buff. I watch a lot of movies. And I like to watch, I like to like write little movie reviews, and sort of see, like I was just writing something earlier about how, movie scores can really, impact how we watch movies and things like that, how important music is in that sense. So I love doing that. I also love reading. One of the things that was so difficult about the academic year is that I didn't really have any time to sort of like read for myself. So this summer, I'm really going to be taking advantage of that. I have a stack of things that I've been meaning to read and catch up on. So I'll be doing that. But yeah, I just love spending time with my friends and my family. Yeah, I also love graphic design. I do a lot of stuff with that in my free time. And yeah, I'm kind of excited. I'm excited to, get more involved with sports and stuff at Duke. I know that's a pretty big, part of the culture over there with basketball. So I'm definitely interested in exploring that. So yeah.
Talking a bit about movies, what are type of movies you watch?
I guess one of my favorite movies ever is actually it's the Social Network. The one about the creation of Facebook. I love that movie. It also has like one of the best movie scores of like all time, in my opinion. Like I'll listen to that for fun. It's an excellent movie. I can pretty much quote it. So I watched it like a dozen times.
And how about music? What type of music you are into?
I'm honestly not a picky person. The one thing that I will not listen to is country. I do like some Bollywood. I love rock. I'm a huge rock fan. I'll even listen to some Taylor Swift every once in a while. So yeah, I like everything. So
That's
yeah.
good. That's good. So, what's something new you want to pick in university?
Oh, sorry, I
What's
didn't catch the question.
I'm saying you till now you have done many things. What's something new you wish to pick up in university now?
Um, I would say that's a tough question because I feel like there's so many things that I've been wanting to do at Duke. I guess is find maybe a more cultural community
Hmm.
at school. I mean, the high school that I currently go to doesn't have like a huge Indian population, and I
Hmm.
know Duke does, so I'm very excited to, you know, explore that, go to school with other Indian students. And then also I used to be a swimmer, so
Hmm.
but I had to quit because I had so much going on. It didn't make sense for me
Hmm.
to do both. You have to make those sacrifices every
Of
once in a while with
course.
like college application processes and things like that.
Understood.
Um, but I'd love to maybe get back into club swim at Duke. I'd also I'd also just like to I mean, I am fluent in Hindi because I did grow up in India for a few years before moving here.
Oh, did you study here?
But I studied in India, so I was in India from when I was 2 to around 7 or 8 years old. It was a short time, but
Hmm.
I go to India like every summer.
Hmm.
And I speak Hindi, but I think I'd love to, you know, become more fluent in terms of like writing. I
Hmm.
can read, but it might take me like 10 minutes to read a sentence. So I'm not like the best, but I'd love to work on that. Um, and also just like expanding like my whole like leadership roles and things like that. Like I've done a lot of initiatives at my school that, you know, I think that's another important thing about college is that obviously there are things that I did for the sake of my college application, but a lot of the things that I did were just things that I liked to do,
Hmm.
which I think makes writing your essays and, you know, this whole process of college a lot easier if you're doing something that you like, not
Hmm.
just because, hey, I think, you know, Duke is gonna get angry that I didn't do this one thing. They're not gonna care. It's so I feel like I'd love to, you know, sort of expand the sort of roles that I've been in at the university level.
Hmm.
I'm very excited to do that. And also maybe interns and more in DC. I know Duke has great opportunities for that. I'm really looking forward to, you know, just sort of expanding, you know, expanding my like worldview in a sense. Because Duke has people from all over the world. So I'm very excited to do that. Yeah.
Good. I'm so excited to know that you are so much excited to get into Duke, and that's
Yes.
that's something which everyone should have, the fire even before entering the
Yeah.
university. That's cool. So thank you so much for your time, Viveka. It was lovely
Of
speaking with
course.
you. I'm so happy. Once again, congratulations to you and your family. And on behalf of Masterclass, we are really happy to know about your admission. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye bye, dear.
Bye-bye.